the schedule?
Actually, making the schedule is probably my favorite part of the year. That's just my nerdy joy spot is making schedules. So for me, I will usually start my schedule by doing what you were just talking about, Christina. I'll think about what are the things that I already have going on in my life that are related to these school subjects. So for us, we have a local co-op where we cover PE twice a week, and then my kids also have martial arts twice a week. So PE is covered. I'm not going to schedule any PE into my homeschool day, right? So things like that that you already have going. And then I usually have like a list of the subjects starting with my oldest, because if I have the list of the oldest kid stuff, then I know that that's the heaviest load that I will be trying to cover and pull from for my feast this year. Um, so I'll start with things of like, all right, we've got PE covered. I don't need that lesson, or we have music covered in our co-op as well. So just things like that, where I just start crossing out the things that are already covered in my week. And I'll go ahead and fill in like those 2 days of the week are co-op. So that's covered, right? And then I start filling in things that we're going to do daily. So we're going to do math daily. We're going to do our scripture study daily, copy work, things like that. I go ahead and start putting that onto either on paper. I've used the scheduling cards on the table. I've written it out on paper. I've done it on the computer screen. It's all the same process though, of going through my daily things. And then I see what's left after the daily things, and what I have space for that I'm ready to take on. So maybe I will look at this year, we've not done very well with geography. So that's really high on my list for this incoming school year. Geography needs to get done. So I'll kind of do some reflection on my past school year and where my goals are for the year and make sure that I schedule those classes first. And it just slowly starts to take shape. And I've learned over the last 6 years that my family does well if math is done first in the morning. So I start thinking about those kind of things. After I've got the schedule, I start moving things around of what subjects will work better first thing in the day and what ones we're going to do together as a family versus what ones I really think that my kids need to be at separate levels for, especially now that I've got 3 that I'm juggling. I think to myself, well, which ones can the younger 2 do together or the older 2? And I start just doing this slow process. And the schedule that I come up with at the beginning of the year is never the schedule that I end up with at the end of the year. And that's okay. Kind of like you were saying, Christina, during different times in our life, like if we have a baby come in or if people get sick, we've had 2 rounds of COVID this last year. So that made some adjustments to our schedule and we had to drop a couple of things. And that's just how life goes. But I try to have a plan as I'm doing my schedule with the things that my kids can do independently while we do math. Then we do a block together as a family. And then our third block is kind of things that my older students have to do that maybe my youngers don't need to, while the younger ones are doing handicrafts or something like that. Just kind of think of the flow of your day and just start inserting things, and don't be afraid to let go of some things in that schedule. Kind of have an idea in your mindset of how many hours of time you have in any given day. And I also try to think, like Sundays, I do a lot of volunteer work with my church. So I know that Monday needs to be a pretty chill day for us because we're all going to be pretty burnt out from all the extra meetings and things that we have going and family stuff that we have afterwards on Sundays. So Mondays, I make sure I put some of our lighter readings and things on that day. I'm not going to put Plutarch and Shakespeare on a Monday. We don't have the brain space for it. So just kind of asking those questions to yourself as you're making it.
I will say that it's even having done this several years now, every single year, my very first attempt at making a schedule, I'm over ambitious and put too much in. You guys are nodding. I must not be the only one. So after I make my schedule, I make myself go back and make sure there's enough margin in my schedule for everyday life, because I can control some things. I can shut off the ringer on my phone during school. I can try to minimize interruptions, but things are still going to happen. And I still need some margin in that schedule. I can't just cram it full and expect that it's going to work. If I do that, then the last third of my day is going to consistently fall off the schedule. So once I have that schedule, I like to go back in, make sure I have that margin. And that usually means taking a few things away. But like Kim said, it doesn't mean taking them away forever. It may mean that I need to alternate and do um, maybe alternate things and do them different terms. In the past, we've done Shakespeare one term and Plutarch one term to spread those out. I think we did poetry the third term, but you can spread those out over terms. You can even spread those out over years. Like Kim said, she felt like she needed a little more geography this year. So you can look at your past year and say, this consistently fell off the table. This needs to go higher on the list this year. And maybe something else needs to not be on there for first term this year.
I think you guys caught it all. I would just say the only thing I could think of was try to have set times. Just even if it's like 9 to 12. I mean, whatever you have as a teacher, think of it as that's your job. And during these hours, this is just all I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to be doing laundry or dishes. This is my time devoted to my kids for their education. If you think of it like that as you plan your schedule and know that, hey, I'll have time in the afternoon to work on laundry or whatever. So I think if you think of that too, when you're thinking of your schedule, just make sure you have enough time to devote totally to your kids. It could be in the afternoon. Like if you have a lot of little kids, my sister has to do school in the afternoon and she works in the morning. It's like every family's schedule is going to look different. So don't try to copy like other people's because it's not going to work for you. So we can all give you guys our schedules and what works for our family, but they all look different. And I can tell you now that I have been homeschooling for 16 years, actually I'm at 17, every year looks different, even every term. So and here's another thing to consider. Nature walks are not going to happen at our house when it's really hot outside. So sometimes we have to make nature walks in the morning instead of the afternoon. Otherwise, you get the complaining of it's too hot outside. So, I mean, just having the flexibility of what's going to work, knowing your kids, and because I know some kids are late risers, some kids are early risers. So just be thinking of those types of questions when you're making your own schedule to fit it to your own individual kids.
I would add to the idea that, your teacher time being 9 to 12, for instance, like you said, it also really helps for those of us who like to just push through and try to be like, let's squeeze in a little more. That would be me. And so if I know I'm supposed to end at 12 for the sake of my children's cognitive load and also the fact that I need to take care of my little ones and all the house things, like that's a stopping point for me so that I don't go over too. Otherwise, I'd be like doing school day. I don't know. I really like the subjects and I love a Charlotte Mason education and all of the things we get to learn. So I would probably be that person who would go way too long and then the other things would suffer. And so anyway, that's helpful to give me that boundary as well.